I'll share it to you just now. I have to click go live first. There we go.
Oh, sorry.
Welcome to an experimental podcast. Our Brew from the Terrace is we're the Brewgooders, and this is our football kind of spin-off show. That's a fucking dreadful introduction to a podcast.
So my fault.
Yeah, we'll get there. First one of the year. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Jeff to my right, but as far as we're aware, not a member of the far right is Andrew McGee. And what top are you wearing? Oh, is that Elite's top?
So me?
Yeah,
it's a concept kit from Square Ball. So I bought it when I was in Leeds. But yeah, it's meant to be like an old Admiral Leeds kit. So yeah.
Wearing a Liverpool scarf, so representing the top two. The top two leagues.
It's a Carabao Cup final scarf from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, listen, it's like the glory days of 2020 when Leeds and Liverpool were both top of the league now. So
yeah,
the good old days.
The glory days. I'm not going to wear it because it's too warm though, because the heating's been on since like 7 o'clock this morning because it's so cold outside. Oh, I've gone awfully glory.
It's not really content for the fucking podcast, but it's the weather's horrible. Like I have the heating on, and then when the heating's not on, it's just cold straight away.
Yeah, it was -5 when I was driving to work this morning. That's ridiculous. It's too much.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. I'm hearing an echo, but I think it's me. I'm just going to tap out for 20 seconds to get my headphones.
Okay.
I'm okay. Earphones. So how have you been, Tom? How's football going for you this season?
Yeah, pretty good. Okay, actually, not too bad. Being top of the league's good, but I don't know if you saw that Melier, our goalkeeper, made some bad errors. So the last game against Hull, he should have tipped a ball over the bar and he tipped it back into play and they scored to make it 3-2 to Leeds. And then they went on to score again in the 80-something minutes. So everyone's hating on our keeper at the moment. But yeah, football, I mean, we're top of the league. If you'd told me you'd be top of the league at Christmas and in the new year, I'd take that. So I'm happy with that.
Definitely.
But it's not been as sort of glorious as Liverpool, though, I'd say.
Funny old season so far for Liverpool. I'm not used to it. Like usually, there's something not satisfying, but normal about having lost so many games in the first 10 that you're kind of out of contention for the season anyway, and you're just kind of playing it, and you think it. But this season's been a bit strange for a few teams, I think.
Yeah, definitely. How about you, Jeff? Have you how's football been for you this year?
I have started a new job, so have been like really, really struggling with football. My football this sort of consumption has been listening to other football podcasts, which has been really, really good fun. I've got a commute for the first time in like 15 years, and have just listened to football cliches all the time.
Nice. Nice, yeah. It's so funny. John, we're going to take a couple of one of their ideas today and change it slightly.
Yeah, it was still an idea. But yeah, like we kind of always. I don't really have a team. Like I'm kind of like I've got lots of little like teams that I kind of follow and stuff like that, and they're all doing okay. So
I think you're the ideal football pal to have because you're the quintessential man on the fence. You know what I mean? When you see, if you see a tackle, you probably see the tackle as it is. Was it a foul? Was it not a foul? You can be more impartial than anyone else. When you've got a team or you hate a team, you kind of see things impartially because you have that rose tinted spectacles or yellow tinted spectacles or whatever.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. But I suppose when you say it like that, but no, I'd like to just watch. Share the link to Tom. I just like watching football, and obviously, we've talked about this before. Like, there's guys like obviously I follow Leeds because Tom follows Leeds. I keep an eye on what like the Premier League with a couple of horses in there. Probably Brighton is probably the closest team I've got in the Premier League to follow in, and then follow like. But it's all right. Brighton are in a really weird patch at the moment. Kind of just sitting. That's them. Quintessential mid league table. Like I think a couple years ago, three seasons ago, then followed by 2 seasons ago, like there was, I don't know, they were kind of the Nottingham Forest of that season. You know, I mean, they were kind of like they were up there, sitting in the top 5, but we would have been having that conversation back then, like, oh, you know, are Brighton actually contenders? But I don't think their management structure and their like. Not even their administrative structure probably doesn't like suit itself to that kind of consistent level of performance.
They play steadily. I think they've drawn more games than anyone else in the league this year. But you know, they've lost more than like Liverpool and Arsenal. But apart from that, you know, everyone else has either lost the same as them or more than them. They just didn't win many goals.
That's what's. I think that's reflective in their like. Their league position, because a draw is fine. It's points on the board and it's not a loss. But then like if you draw 3 games and then somebody wins, you know they're gonna presumably they'll get the same amount of points as you, and they might even have like a better goal difference because they're not if you draw 3 games then your goal difference will be 0. And if you're competing if a team around you in and around you wins a game 1-0, they've got a better goal difference than you, you know, and so like draws are fine because they're not losses. I think draws keep you out of relegation, but they also keep you out of contention for like anything of worth. So it's fun being a Brighton fan, but it's also just. They're just a team in the mix. They're just a team in the Premier League, you know.
Yeah, I've just looked at their results, and the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. They've drawn 6 and lost 2.
Yeah, they were 10 without a win at one point this season. I think even so.
But they've only lost like 4 or 5 in the league all year. You know, they draw an awful lot.
So they're an average team, and I'm quite happy with that.
I mean, the form team. If you look at the form, particularly in the Premier League, you know, the last 6 games, played 6, won 6, is a team that's you know, say before we came on here, staggering. Nottingham Forest, how well they're doing at the moment. The last 3, they've lost 4, I think. The last 3 games that they lost was like Manchester City, Arsenal, Newcastle, maybe a draw against Chelsea.
Yeah,
you know they're not losing to the wee teams. They're beating all the pish wee diddy teams.
They're consistent, eh? So, you were saying before we went to air, it'll be interesting to like because they've got quite. You were saying they've got quite a good run of games coming up as well. So,
I was having a look just because it's like getting towards that start of this part of the season where you start talking about who really is a contender. You know, is it going to be down to just Liverpool, Arsenal? You know, is Chelsea, Newcastle still a chance? Nottingham Forest sitting 3rd. So I had to look at the last 4 games that they've got to play at the end of the season, and where Liverpool's got West Ham, Leicester, Spurs, Chelsea. Nottingham Forest's last 4 games is Everton, Spurs, Brentford, Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
That's a nice if you're still in contention with 4 games to go. Usually you get like 2 games a week towards the end of the season. If you're still in contention with those 4 games to go, that's what you want to have.
Well, that's it. You are in contention. If you think about where the points could come from to keep them in that mix, that's quite exciting.
And I genuinely think that, I mean, that I'm not going to talk about them as maybe winning that, but if you had to say who's your team of the year, who's your manager of the year, no matter what Liverpool have done and what Nuno and what Slot's done, the squad he had is so much better and has so much more and things like this. Nuno's taken them from 18th last year or 16th or something like that.
Yeah.
It's got to be Nuno, hasn't it? To be
it has to be to possible Champions League football next year. Almost definitely European football, unless
they fall off this, which I I don't think it's necessarily possible, unless like something fucking dreadful happens. But they're just a solid team, and they're great fun to watch. I love watching Nottingham Forest. Like,
yeah, they're solid defensively. You know, they're quite happy to absorb pressure, and then they really hit teams on the counter. I was listening to a podcast about them just earlier actually, and they were saying that there's this measure about how quickly teams move the ball forward, and they measure it in like meters per second. And Nottingham Forest are easily the fastest team in the Premier League. They go from back to front really quick, and they don't really mind that. I think as well they were saying that the goal that Chris Wood scored on Monday against Wolves was like goalkeeper to Hudson-Odoi to Chris Wood, one touch goal, and that was it. So and they don't mind that, you know, and they're interviewing some fans. They were saying, yeah, it's fine as long as we're winning and stuff. We don't really mind.
That excitement in the football, I found, like I say, being a Liverpool fan, I'm not going to say it's not been great this season, but you know, Klopp was like constant pressing, constant moving forward, constant fast balls and stuff like this, and it was exciting to watch. But you shipped as many goals as you scored.
Yeah.
This year they're playing much more steadily, much more playing it back towards, you know, and forward and back and forward and slow build up and things like that.
Yeah, control and stuff.
Yeah, and they're getting goals there, but it's not as exciting to watch. Last night's game in particular, I mean, it's like I don't think there's any. It didn't end up that way, but I was sitting last night, 10 minutes to go. There's nothing worse for me than a no-score draw. I'd almost rather lose a game 1-0 than sit through 90 minutes of no goals.
So that's quite funny. That's quite funny because one of my most exciting football experiences was a no-score draw. When we all mean it because you guys were all probably watching it as well. But when Scotland drew against England a couple of years ago in the Euros, that was amazing. Like, and obviously Scotland had been hammered the first two by teams that were of equal or sort of. But we just didn't do very well, basically, against arguably equal or better teams. And then we played England, and it was, you know, the trepidation of like, well, England are like one of, if not the best team in Europe, and we managed to hold them to like a 0-0 draw. It was amazing. It was great fun.
That was the first time that I'd like openly supported Scotland over England, because like I went through a phase of kind of supporting both, but then preferring England. Then I just kind of switched. And I was like, I don't really need to make a decision until England play Scotland. And then they played, and I was like, yeah, wear my Scotland shirt. And then I remember I was watching it in Falkirk, near Falkirk, with my mate Andrew, and he was and on the way back I had to change trains in Inverkeithing to go to get the bus. And there were like people like dancing in the street because of a 0-0 draw. So you'll never take that away from them, man. That 0-0 draw, you know.
Well, there was what I liked about there was talk that England were going to, like, they were the favourites to win the tournament. So there was that whole thing where, like, you know, Scotland had a totally appalling outing, you know, in that overall in that tournament. But then we could be there was a very real chance that if England won, we could be like, oh, we're the only team not to lose to them. It's like,
we got through the final, didn't we?
They didn't even score against us, you know.
Yeah. I remember Scotland having a really good chance in the first like 10 minutes. I think John McGinn hit the post. That was great. Yeah,
that was good. So my big question about Nottingham Forest, because like I don't know if they're going to win. Like I don't know if there's a competition or a conversation about them winning the Premier League. But is this going to be consistent? Because like I always remember when we had like I think whenever you see one of the teams that are not one of the bigger teams. Like you always like that, you know, like in the way Tom listened to a podcast where they've coined, you know, they overuse the phrase doing a Leicester, and like so like I don't know if that'll ever happen again in our lifetime. Like do what Leicester did that, but
it's not one off in my lifetime. I'm way older than you, but I remember Blackburn winning back in the day, and now Blackburn are down in the Championship with you. I remember not being champions of England and winning the European Cup back in the 1980s. I remember Aston Villa winning the European Cup in 82 or 84 or something like that. You know, we teams having a great season and winning something used to be part of football. It just hasn't been since money became the main factor.
And that's what I say, like I'm interested to see, like, because I always remember when Leicester won, and then the next season Ranieri was out by like November, and it'd been like
they should have built. They should have put a statue up and told them job for life. That's it.
You thought it was a job for life. I thought it was.
Wasn't there like a palace coup? The boy like Craig Shakespeare because they wanted him in instead, and then he did rubbish as well.
It just pickles my brain, and it's just like. But then I'm like, I wonder if like, are Nottingham Forest doing a Leicester, or is this them now there? Are they going to be like, they might not win it this season, but are they going to be in the conversation every season going forward?
I don't think so. I think this is a one-off season where you've had some freakish results, and I think next season they'll be quite comfortably back mid-table if they're lucky.
Should we do some matters arising, things that have happened recently?
Oh yeah.
Before we get too deep into the Premier League season, because we've got a couple of things that happened in the last 24 hours, which might be big.
Yeah, I think obviously we've got like things that these matters are rising, but I've got like things that I think are my cult figures to at least my personal self have featured quite heavily in the news in the last day. So let's move on. So,
we know you're a fan of one of the people who's featured very, very heavily. Dyche, baby.
That took me far too long earlier today.
Oh, you made that today?
Yeah.
Let's see it again. Come on, let's see it again.
Oh, it's so hard to fucking link up. Like StreamYard doesn't let you do it either. Yeah, I just I fucking love Sean Dyche. So like, there we go. Dyche, baby. So
how ready looks there.
Yeah, he's so happy. I fucking love Sean Dyche. I think he's he's like a proper character, and I know we like a good character. I think like even just fucking like his overuse of his like sort of working class background when he's like managing multi-million pound like corporations, and he's just like, fucking Everton with their working class like ethics and stuff like that. It's great. Love it.
Didn't he call something woke nonsense?
Probably.
He's been cancelled basically by the woke right or the woke left.
Let me just see what
he'll call something woke nonsense like metatarsals, or it'll be something like like genetic like just accepted as like a fact.
He's one of those working class people who use the word woke without really understanding what the word woke means. It's like, look at that, that's woke, that pencil that I just dropped, woke. Couldn't get a newspaper this morning, they were all sold out, woke newspaper. It's
a conspiracy. No, him, I don't know what you guys think about him losing, so I'll say at time of recording, he has
I hate saying to lose the job mid-season, and I think Ken, give the guy a season. They're higher up in the league than they were at this time last year. I don't know what Everton expect.
It's the new owners, isn't it? They want a sort of champagne manager, don't they? So they're going for David Moyes.
Until they get some players to match it, they're not going to,
They've not got that. They've not got that setup of team, have they? They're not like they aren't a. I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's just a mentality I've got because of Dyche, but they don't. They're not a flamboyant like. When I think of like your total like classic, like you're saying your champagne teams. I don't know. Like it'd be interesting, like what you actually mean by that sort of like your champagne team or your champagne manager. In my head, I think of Wenger and his Invincibles.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate champagne team, I think.
He's not a champagne manager. He famously, like, he didn't drink. He only drank water. And when he was asked, I think he had a fallout with Fergie because Fergie asked him if they were coming for a drink after the game, and he was like, "I had a drink during the game." He's not exactly your champagne manager, Wenger. He got the job done.
I don't know if it was just because he's French. That's maybe what. I think
the sort of classic champagne team, I suppose, would be like Pep's Barcelona. Like the like the classy sort of classy midfielders with the sort of flair strikers and stuff, that sort of thing. That's like your classic champagne.
Jose Mourinho for me is like the classic champagne manager. He goes in, does something flashy, he buys some players. And, you'll try and do a 20-yard skid to celebrate a goal and things like that.
Nice, yeah. RIP, Sean Dyche. It's been a good run. I don't know what his next move's going to be.
What is the next? I'm trying to think where he'll go.
Will there be somebody that sacks their manager? Maybe Ipswich won't, Southampton won't, Leicester have already sacked the manager, so they've got a new person. Maybe if Ruud van Nistelrooy gets sacked, they'll bring in Dyche.
Maybe.
Graham Potter's just moved to West Ham. Who did he come from? Was he out of a job at the moment? Was he?
Yeah,
he was after Chelsea. He came out of Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea was his last night. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been out of work for like
6 months off, doing the rotation on the BBC and things like that.
The managerial merry-go-round.
Yeah. And then once Ruben Amorim or something like that gets
bringing Dyche.
We'll bring Dyche in, aye.
Yeah.
Or who's going to bring in to save them at the end of the season? Is it going to be Southampton or Leicester or something like that going to bring?
Yeah, I can see that.
In relegation, is he the new Big Sam?
I was going to say that he's got that the whole Big Sam thing, isn't he, where he can come in with like half a dozen to 9 games left and just and dig you out.
There's some teams around there it'd be like beneath them to get Dyche. Like you can't imagine like someone like Brighton getting Dyche if it starts getting rubbish for them. It's Dyche is below them. It's someone
he doesn't fit a Brighton or like
an Ipswich Town or something like that.
I think it's Ipswich Town
thing. Wolves are around about that bottom sort of thing, and
Wolves would be great.
They're capable of playing really well on.
Yeah,
on
Wolves
games.
is a good shout. They just sacked the manager and got someone else in. He was meant to be quite good and meant to be an exciting manager. So, but Black Country sort of working class players. That'd be Dyche's.
That's where he wants to be.
That's his wheelhouse, man. That's his wheelhouse.
His blood is too gravy for your Brighton. Brighton's like Brighton's son in a. Son into middle class for Dyche.
Yeah, the gravy they serve in Brighton is too thin for Dyche. That's nice, a nice thick northern gravy or
yeah, exactly. It's like you could probably say that. I don't know where Dyche will go, but you could draw a line like basically where Nottingham is on a map, in the middle of England, and draw a line straight across there and be like, he's not allowed to manage south of this line.
I'll tell you two teams in the Championship that need a manager. West Brom, but apparently they're going to take the Blackburn manager, John Eustace. So I could see him going to Blackburn. Although
I can see him at West Ham or I can see not West Ham. Sorry, I can see him at a West Brom or a Blackburn. How are Burnley doing? Burnley are doing all right, aren't they? They've got
they're second or third in the Championship. So they recently beat Blackburn, are their big rivals, and they beat them 1-0 away over Christmas, which was a good result.
That would have been if Burnley weren't doing very well. That would have been like the romantic homecoming,
Yeah.
Can I just add, before we move on completely for Dyche, I just want to say, because I've had this conversation, I think, with you before, Jeff. I don't know what you have to do. Once you're established as a manager in England, it doesn't matter how many times you get sacked, people will keep on giving you jobs. It's like it's a one in, one out. Somebody has to die or retire for a new. Eddie Howe waited for a decade for some, for 30 retire, like that, so he could get in.
It's like when you buy a house and you enter a chain, you got to wait for everyone to just shift along one.
And that's the thing is, you've got 19 guys above you. And everywhere he was, I watched Roy Hodgson lose and get worse and stuff like that. And yet still, Roy Hodgson got a job everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then, like in amongst that, you would have like that. I think I always think of like Big Sam in a similar way. Like they have these moments of success. Like it's like I don't know, like there's a give and take with it. So like Big Sam could be like just dropping, and then they'll drop him into somewhere like West Ham, and he'll do well for a couple of months, and it's like, oh, he's put himself back into like the shop window a wee bit, and
managerial merry-go-round shop window.
Exactly. Who's
David Moyes? I mean, it's like
David Moyes is a good example as well.
Wins a European, what they called a major European trophy, which I'm going to quibble about the definition of major, but still. And within a year, he's sacked and moving on to somewhere else.
Talking about David Moyes, who before we move on, who do you think is going to replace Dyche at Everton? Because David Moyes, I think, is in the conversation. He's like,
definitely.
He's already said though that he doesn't. He feels like he doesn't want to go in and do another saver team for relegation.
Yeah,
and he's also the fact when he walked away from Everton, they loved him.
The chosen one.
Yeah, he was their guy. For seasons and seasons, and then he's like, no, bright lights, big city of Manchester. He was going.
Well, the Athletic are reporting that Moyes is the favourite to take over Everton. So I thought it was like you. So a top target, they say, to replace Dyche as manager. So the owners want him, but whether he wants to or not, I suppose that's the question.
He was interviewed like last week and said, at this stage of his career, he's getting to the stage where he doesn't want to be doing the last 3 months of the season trying to save somebody for relegation. It's not the job.
But Thomas Franks is one of their favourites.
Oh really? Okay. Yeah.
I mean, he strikes me a bit like he's a steady hand manager as well. Like he got Brentford into like a really good, an amazing job he did with them, but he got them into a position that's kept them there. Like obviously Brentford. I know in my head, Brentford are on that level that Nottingham Forest have kind of just risen out of this season. But that sort of mid-year Brighton and your
when they came up, everyone thought they were going to be that typical boomerang team that was up doing for a couple of seasons and then shoot down. But they didn't. They came up and they stayed up.
Yeah, and they're like we've had this chat loads of times about like who you're like what is your definitive Premier League. And if you were to do like a definitive modern Premier League, Brentford are there. Like they're not like, I think anyway. They're a team that are used to seeing there. Whereas obviously they had one of those weird like meteoric rise clubs, weren't they? That just sort of
was. You always you would put in the teams that you remember being successful. Like, if I had the Premiership, a top tier team, I would probably always have Leeds in it because I remember them being successful and always being there. I would have Blackburn in it because I remember them, being successful and always being there. These are teams that have floated up and doing a lot.
We've had this conversation about me and Tom have had this conversation before, and it's also like you have teams that will always be in, like, if you're like who are the definitive Premier League, and then you'll have teams like Brentford that you'll argue, in Bournemouth and that you'll argue are like Championship teams. They're not definitive Premier League teams. And then you have people like who just have like a total bias who throw in like a Blackburn, and they're like, yeah, but Blackburn were one of the originals, but it's like they're shite now. Leeds are a Premiership team, but
you think so, but then I suppose the fans of teams like Brentford and Brighton, they would say, well, we're there by rights and we stayed there for a few seasons, and where are Leeds now, where are Blackburn now and stuff. So that would be a good point. So you got to play the football game, you got to play the financial game as well nowadays, and they've done that well.
You've got these sort of mid-tier team tables that are rarely out of the top league, but never really do anything. I would say like Crystal Palace and Aston Villa, you know,
your Fulham and your Bournemouths and
Fulham, yeah, you know, they're there for 10 years at a time. They might go down for a couple of years, but they'll come back up.
Yeah.
Never in any danger of winning anything, and you know, occasionally they'll get a European qualifying. Or now that there's a third tier European trophy, that's your chance for these teams to
have something to play for.
To get
I'm looking at the other favourite, Stephen Cooper. He's probably quite. I would think he's quite a good fit for an Everton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although he wasn't doing that great with Forest earlier on the season, was he? So,
yeah, it was. Yeah.
No, it was at the end of last season, was it?
End of last season, and then he went to Leicester and didn't do very well with them either.
Yeah, so.
And then I'm looking at the list that here that I'm on the BBC. This is what they're saying. They've got Gareth Southgate in there. I think whenever an English club is looking for a Premier League club's looking for a manager for the next couple of years, Gareth Southgate will just be a shortlisted name.
I think Gareth Southgate would seriously consider it because here's why. I think Gareth Southgate's one of those guys that doesn't thrive well on pressure and expectation. Like, he's a good manager, don't get me wrong, and he seems like a thoroughly good guy. But he spent all the years with the pressure of a nation, that, you know, the freaking thing of a nation, going to a team where they're like, just didn't be last.
So Southgate's always good at like culture. So when he went into England, he sorted out the culture there, and he made the people proud to support England football team again, and not have the sort of hooligan element of it, shame around like people watching England, just seeing like just having this over expectation, not really like the players, and the players seem like they want to play for the club or the country, and that, and he sorts all that out. So he wants to go to a place that lacks a culture, you know. So Everton, I don't think is a place that lacks culture. That's not their issue. I thought that he would be a good fit at Man U because they need a culture.
I thought it was almost a dead cert for Man U, but based on that, like it was quite a romantic appointment.
Yeah, but they will always go for the champagne managers. You know, they'll always go for the big players, won't they? So.
They call him a champagne manager, Ruben Amorim. See, the more I look at him, the more I think. Remember, this is a manager that Liverpool looked at, that West Ham looked at, and both ultimately decided that they were going with somebody else. Mm-hmm. What's, you know?
So with Man U in mind, do you think Ten Hag's a shout for Everton?
Could be. Yeah,
he's in the thing now. I think. I mean, he's, you know, unless he goes back to, where's he from? Is he Dutch?
Yeah. Ajax. Yeah.
So I think that maybe he's set up in the northwest, and going to Everton might be quite a good shout, and that might fit in with the new owners' image of what they want for like a sort of exciting. Well, when he played for Ajax, when he was an Ajax manager, they were great. So maybe something like that. Like if they could reignite that part of Ten Hag's managerial career. But if you're just looking at Man U and just saying, "Oh yeah, we want that at our club," then no. You know, they just didn't get the players for him to play his style.
Yeah.
So it depends how ambitious the Everton manager is. But I mean, bringing in Ten Hag now to basically, what are they going to do this season? Just try to stay up. So
presuming that would be the mission statement for the manager. So with say if they hired a Ten Hag, you'd then be like he'd be looking at like your first protocol is to keep us up. Your second protocol, like they would be with a Ten Hag, I think they'd be expecting stay up this season and then be like contending at some level next season. And I can see a 10.
I don't think that's realistic for Everton to talk about. You know, after 5-6 years of just trying to get out the bottom four.
Yeah.
To talk about we want you to be contenders next year.
I think if you're going to bring a Ten Hag in, that's what they'll like. Yeah. They'll have like, when I say contenders, I'm not thinking like we want you to do like we want you to watch Nottingham Forest really closely and look what they're doing this season. But like I do think they would be expecting. I think a Ten Hag's got there'll be more expectation for like accelerated success after, you know, rather than a David Moyes or and I don't know if that's a monetary thing. I don't know if you're expecting. I think Ten Hag's probably more expensive than David Moyes, I presume. So
going to what you said, I think David Moyes understands the ethos of Everton.
Yeah.
He knows where the car park is. And,
he knows where the car park is, but he also knows where like to park his car if the overflow's full as well. Like he has that vibe about him. Like
a real
get his haircut.
A real deep knowledge of the club.
Yeah,
the overflow car park.
He could step back in, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
The other managerial change was Lopetegui. He went a couple of days ago, didn't he? That seemed like to be drawn out quite a lot. They're like, oh, Lopetegui's not going to take training today. No, he's not going to do a press conference, but he is expected to take training. And then like you're thinking, well, why is he not doing the press conference? Surely they're just going to sack him. And then 3 or 4 hours later, next thing you know, sacked. So he went. He was all very promising for Lopetegui. They brought him in thinking they're going to play this exciting football and it's going to be the next step forward. And then they've been rubbish all season, haven't they? They've had a couple of good results, but yeah, that's it. I mean, Somerville from Leeds played the season last year for Leeds and played the season in the Championship, and he's just, I know it's a step up from the Premier League to the Premier League. They expect him to do something, and it's just not being used really. So
is at the top. I think Ken is at the top 2 or 3 teams, but I think there's most players in the Premiership. Most players in the Championship could probably play in the Premiership.
Mm-hmm.
Slotting into the right team.
Yeah.
Ken, once you get above a certain level, once you're £20,000 a week centre forward, you can play in the Premiership. It's just a case of if the team work with you.
Yeah.
I look at a Jamie Vardy and a James Maddison and things like this, and I think I watch a lot of Championship football. There's players just as good as these guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't really disagree with that. I think that there's, that's the issue with being in the Championship as well. Is if you don't go up, then you feel that the best 5 players in the team are going to get taken away to the Premier League, because that's what happens, and that's fair enough. That players want to play in the Premier League. So, and if you sign for a team like Leeds or Burnley or Sheffield United, you expect that's the kind of promise. Look, we're in the Championship this season, but next season we'll be in the Premier League. So you kind of signed on that hope as well. So you can't really play.
Other leagues in the world, though, if you have a good season in the Scottish Premier League, the expectation is you're going to end up playing in the Championship or something like that. One of the big teams over there is going to come and take you away.
Even in the Scottish boys are getting Premier League opportunities if they're showing enough as well. Though, like obviously, that boy that Big Ange moves into Tottenham. The first thing he does is buy a Rangers player.
Can't play enough times he liked, have he?
Yeah, he's like, he's fucked us over for the last time. I'm going to make sure he's going to fuck anyone over. It's going to be on my dollar. Like.
It was an interesting game last night. As you were saying before, just discussed it before we went live. It seemed to have 0-0 all over. Then there was Tottenham just kind of switched on a little bit in the last sort of 20 minutes.
Even as a Liverpool fan, I'm not going to say they didn't deserve to win. They scored a goal which was chalked off for the most marginal offside I think I've seen. I feel a wee bit aggrieved the goal that they scored because, on the one hand, the player should have been stopped. It should have been booked for the foul on Tsimikas. But he'd been booked a few minutes previously for a foul on Diaz that wasn't a foul, and I didn't think he deserved to be booked for that. So I'm not one of these guys that's going to say he should have been off. But they didn't even call it a foul on Tsimikas, and Tsimikas had to go off the park, and then they battered down the right wing to that space that Tsimikas should have been in. And Solanke got the cross in, and it was a nice finish. Spurs deserved to win last night, I think, on the balance of the game. Some Liverpool players just weren't on. Their final ball passes, their balls were too hard. Everything wrong. I agree with Arteta. I think it's the ball.
I think that isn't the next leg. I think isn't it like for quite a while. 2 weeks.
6th of February, the second legs.
Okay, so it's like 3 weeks away. More.
3 weeks away. At Anfield, I have every expectation that they'll win the second leg at Anfield comfortably and get to the quarter-final against looking like Newcastle, because I don't think Spurs were that. But by the 5th of February, lots of things that they're talking about now, they'll not be talking about then. The transfer window will have closed, and maybe we
It's been 6th of February. That's because usually they do it over like a week or 2 weeks apart, wouldn't they? Now it's like strange.
I think it's because there's 2 Champions League weekends between now and then as well.
So
because the Champions League is stretched out for 8 games, instead of finishing up at Christmas and then no being back in the Champions League till February.
Yeah,
you've got 2 weekends or 2 full weeks of Champions League games coming up.
Okay. Interesting.
It's just like you're saying about, like, I wonder how that's been sorted. That does seem really weird about that mad gap between legs. Like, it's just odd. Like, it's almost like you'll forget what happened.
Yeah, there's no connection between the two.
A lot of that mentality would imagine, like, that a particular manager to his team would be like, if you have a relatively poor performance in the first leg, you'd be motivated by the second leg coming up quite soon afterwards to bounce back. But you remove the, I don't know, I can almost see it in my head, like you remove the energy of that bounce.
You can't concentrate on this cup. Like you've got two legs of a cup game, right? First, second leg, and between those 2 legs, Liverpool in particular, they've got to play an FA Cup game and 2 Champions League games and a couple of Premier League games.
Yeah,
it's like bizarre. But I remember when you used to play this in October. The League Cup used to be done right at the start of the season and be done before Christmas, sort of thing. I quite like that as well.
I quite like the idea of like bulking up your cups at in certain months. So you have like, I know, like the World Cup is always played over 6 weeks or whatever it is, and like
yeah.
I think we should do that. So you have like you have like the Europa Conference is done by October. Then the Champions League, then the league is done by like January, and then FA Cup. March it's FA Cup time, and then like April is.
That'd be good actually.
That could work. Europa Conference League winner could go into the Europa League in the same season.
I love that, man.
One space in the Europa League and 1 space in the Champions League, and then the winner of those 2 trophies goes into it. So the potential is there to win all 3 European trophies in the same season.
That'd be great. Yeah.
You've also got it's there if you're amazing, but it's also got the opportunity for, like, I don't know, West Ham, for example, because they won it the last couple of years. But West Ham going, fucking yeah, we're champions of the conference, we could do this, and then just getting destroyed in every game in the next stage, like, or like if they get like by winning the conference again, automatically buy into like one of the knockout berths of the UEFA Cup, and then just go straight into conference, and then get hammered 4-0 off AC Milan, and it's just like, oh, okay.
And it's no because I dislike them in any way, right? But see, when I think about it, I think about Rangers fans having their happiest day of the last 5 years or so when they won the league, and we're back, we're the best in Europe, and then they went on to become officially the worst team ever to play in the Champions League.
Yeah, right.
6, 1-0, lost 6, 4-1 against 26.
Didn't they lose 7-1 or something to Liverpool?
Yeah.
7-1.
Yeah.
Rangers are involved in the fastest scored hat trick ever in Europe.
Yeah. It was most Salah against them. They went 1-0 up for 11 minutes. That was the highlight of their season that season as well, by the way, because they didn't win anything that season. That was the highlight of their season, was that 11 minutes when they were 1-0 up. And then, they got absolutely taken apart in Europe. Found out, as Scottish teams generally do. It's not just a purely Rangers thing. Scottish teams.
We collectively dislike Rangers, so it's funnier when it's them.
Yeah, it was funny.
Feels better than that.
They were back just a couple of weeks ago. They've won Philip Clements won his first Old Firm game. They're back. They're in the chase again, and then they go away. a wee draw at Easter Roads.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I was watching Paddy? Did you follow? Did you guys watch like Paddy Power on social media?
Occasionally,
they did one recently where it's just reminded me like right when Rangers thinking they're back in it after like one win. Where it's like when they were showing a video recently where when Man United were drawing for 7 minutes against Liverpool, and then like it was like and it was just all they could talk about is that they were competitive against Liverpool for 7 minutes, and it's like
they did one right on the first weekend of the season. They did one where because they played the Saturday the first season, so they were top of the league for 16 hours. They came up with songs.
Yeah, it's the same. It was exactly the same joke.
You'll never sing that. 16 hours.
Well, that was it. You'll never sing that. You'll never sing that. 7 minutes at 2-2 against Liverpool. You'll never sing that.
That was painful to watch as well. That was we deserved to lose that one as well. I think this morning though that was like one of the websites was Liverpool in crisis. Like they've got a draw against Man United and they've lost a first league cup to Spurs and suddenly they're in crisis.
Yeah, panic stations. If you're drawing with Man U, that's terrible. I think sack everyone.
The expectation of that Manchester United game has become going at that was unreasonable. People were talking about double figures and stuff like that. So I started capping myself on the Saturday because I was like, Man United have no expectations at all. Their fans, all these pundits that do it, your goal bridges and stuff like this, would have happily bit your hand off for 3-0 before the game. And I was like, they've nothing to prove, they've nothing to think. They could go in and do something here, and they did.
We talk about that quite a lot. Me and Tom, or I say we talk about that quite a lot. I talk at Tom quite a lot about that, like when we're watching Leeds play and they're drawing, and like it's like, would you have taken the draw at the start of the, like when you're watching your team and expected more because of the performance on the pitch at that moment in time, but like going up to the game, you would have happily taken a draw, and then you're like, actually, am I disappointed or am I content based on what I wanted and what I saw and stuff? It's quite an interesting.
So it's all about game state, isn't it? So if you were winning 2-0 and then you were like, and then it goes back to 2-2, like, well, you're going to take a draw at the beginning of the game. Yeah, but we're 2-0 up, so we should really be winning that. Whereas if it's the other way around, if you're 2-0 down and you ask me, would you take a draw here? I'm like, yeah. So I take 2-2. So yeah, I suppose it's part of the game as well, how well you're playing, who you're playing against. But it's always disappointing to if you're like, for example, beating a big team away and then you get a draw, you're like, would have taken a draw, but would have also taken a win. Could we have taken a win instead?
I think no matter who you support, you've got a list in your head and a list in your mind of teams you would take a draw with. And the better the team you support is, the smaller that list is. Like if you're a Liverpool, you're Manchester City, you're Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. Look at but I could probably say to you, if any other team in England, Tom, and you'd be able to go and take a draw against them, or I'd expect them to beat them. And it doesn't matter if, even if they're above you in the league at the moment, you still would be like, no, I don't want to beat them. You just have it in your head. These teams aren't as big as you; they're not as good as you.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, particularly in the Championship as well, you do, a draw away from home isn't that bad, even if it's against a team in the bottom half, because if you win all your home games and draw your away games, that is okay in the Championship. That will get you up. So if you do
it's much more competitive. Nobody's ever going to win the Championship, even though they play more games. Nobody's ever going to get 100 points.
No, that's right.
In the Championship, you're going to win that on, was it usually about 75, 80 points or something like that?
So we got 90 points last year and finished third, but that was quite a freak year where there was 3 really good teams. But usually it's the 80s. It's certainly quite low 80s at the highest. So
it's much more competitive. You didn't go into it knowing who's going to win or knowing who's coming up. You didn't know, how many players are going to stay from Everton or whoever.
I am really excited for Leeds now because of where they are and where they were this time last year. And like, if they have. Well, I don't want to jinx anything, and I'm quite bad at doing that.
No, we'll do that ourselves. We do that plenty ourselves. So
But my understanding is if Leeds play the way they did this half of the season last year, remember the way they did, they'll go up easy. You know what I mean? Like, did Leeds not have like a fantastic January to March last year? It was just like,
we won something like 8 or 9 games in a row without conceding or something like that over like from January to like. It was something like March, and then we just crumbled at the end. And that's because we were like, oh, we might actually do it, and then as soon as that thought creeped into our head, everybody crumbled.
That is a massive crumble. You're almost guaranteed. It's a wee bit to go, but you're almost guaranteed a playoff place at least. Now you'd have to lose like 5 games in a row or something like that too.
Well, I'm looking at the table just now, and Leeds are. This is the Leeds part of the podcast. Leeds are Leeds are sitting. Yeah, exactly. Leeds are sitting 53 points, and West Brom, who are currently 6, are 40. So like they would need to drop 5 games to.
Yeah.
Is that how that works? They would need to drop 15 points.
Yeah.
Whilst Blackburn or Bristol or whoever it is win, go on a run of winning 5 games in a row, and nobody wins 5 games in a row in the Championship.
Yeah, that's right. And it works. It's a two-edged sword, because you can get beaten by anyone, or you can draw away to anyone or whatever. But also the teams around you can also get beaten by anyone. So like, Sheffield United playing, Hull away, and they might be a draw, or they might get beat at home by like Plymouth. I don't know, some freak like result. So these things happen, So that's the kind of beauty of it as well.
That sort of thing as well has contributed to Liverpool being where they are in the Premier League, because they've dropped points, they've drawn games, they've things like this. But whenever they have, nobody's taken advantage. Manchester City lost loads, but Newcastle end up getting a draw. Arsenal end up getting a draw. Nobody apart from Nottingham Forest have done a run of results. So,
yeah. So I mean, it's an exciting season. I think it's because Man City aren't going to win the Premier League. It automatically makes it more exciting, because you're like, oh, who's second? Who could be second? So
you could have predicted that. It wasn't even, it's a monumental crumble. Who saw that coming?
Really? Yeah. Hey, listen, as long as Man U.
It's like if it was any other team and it was 5 dropped games, you'd be like, all right, it happens. It's like it's a downswing, but we're just not used to. Like folk talking about Pep's the security in Pep's job, and you're like, well, I can't believe we're talking about this.
Yeah, totally. One thing I did want to talk about before, because I've just noticed the time. It'd be good to do the predictions, but I also wanted to do a quick preview of some of the best FA Cup games this weekend, because the FA Cup actually starts tonight, which is. Traditionalists would be turning in their grave if they were dead.
Well, I'm working my first Saturday and Sunday since I started my new job, and this is my favourite weekend of the FA Cup. So
this Saturday, the lunchtime game on Saturday is the glory, the fixture, the prime fixture. Accrington Stanley.
Yeah, exactly.
Accrington,
nah.
They used to be an advert back in the day. We had a Newcastle guy and a Geordie guy and a Scottish guy. But Accrington Stanley, who are I? Exactly. It was an advert for milk, I think.
Yeah.
So
that's gonna be exciting with that. And Leeds have got the sort of mirror fixture to that, which is we've got Harrogate.
They've got Top Bubble FC.
Yeah, Bubble FC. Yeah, so that's gonna be an interesting game as well. It's like that if Accrington Stanley could pick a game, it'd be Liverpool, and if Harrogate could pick a game, it'd be Leeds. So it's a great combination of games. That's on Saturday night. So that should be a good one as well.
I'm so glad. As I say, it's the first Saturday I'm working in ages. Since I started, I think I did, but there's some other really good ones.
What time are you working late, or are you on till?
Yeah, I'm on till 10. So
yeah, there's some absolute crackers. Chelsea v Morecambe. That could be a tricky one.
Yeah. Man City Salford, I think it's going to be good fun as well. Is that because they're both?
Man City Salford, is that the one that Gary Neville owns? Is that Salford?
Is that 92 on Salford? Yeah, so it's
Salford. Yeah. That'd be good. Yeah, so there's some great. But I mean, I think that we've talked about this before, James. Was the beauty of the FA Cup third round is that it's like all the amateurs come out, like the amateur cameramen and camera people are great, and they're just like if you're watching like a League Two team versus a National League team, it's like the 50th game of the weekend or match of the day or something, and it's like some that just can't find any professional person to do it. So the job's just got some guy to do it. It's just all over the place.
So
it's great, and the silver FA Cups come out and stuff. So they're also great.
The second round and the third round are my favourite rounds of the FA Cup, and they're possibly my favourite weeks of English football. Yeah. And the second rounds when you get on BBC, and it'll be like Woking versus Accrington.
But these are still professional sides. I like the ones that are quite obviously just wee parks. When they do their second round televised match and they go to a ground and you can see people standing on sheds.
Yeah, that's great.
I still really like this. We don't have that this season, really. I think the closest we've got is, I'm trying to find what the equivalent for that this season is.
Spurs are at home. Spurs are away to Tamworth. Surely Tamworth.
But it was Spurs the last time. Like we were, obviously the romantic FA Cup game for me was always when Spurs played Marine, and Marine had they've got you could actually see. Like I always remember watching. Were we in the commercial when that game was on? Or am I remembering this romantically?
Yeah, no, I think it was on BBC, so that makes sense. It could have been a commercial.
But there was numbers all the way along. If you were watching the game on the sort of, they had to put the camera on the side where the fans were, because there was no other way to set the rig up, because the back wall where the camera was pointing at was like right. It was almost like 5 foot from the edge of the pitch was this mad mesh. It was this big, huge fence that had numbers going up on it, and it was like 25, 27, 29, 31. And I was trying to work out what what was the significance of those numbers, and those are the numbers of the houses over that fence, so that if you kick the ball too high and it goes over, you know what door to knock on.
Yeah.
And see,
you know, back garden it's gone into. So
exactly. And I love that they were playing Spurs. That's my favorite. Yeah.
It was Jose Mourinho's Spurs as well. I remember him saying, like the BBC asked him beforehand, so what have you told your players? Like, what did you say to them in this time? Because they were getting changed in the sports centre just like round the corner apparently, because they didn't have enough space in their actual changing rooms. And he said, if on a normal day, if we lose, it's my fault. And this is why I said to my players, but if we lose today, it's your fault. that's the exact word he says.
You should not be losing to these guys, though.
Yeah.
Last year, there was a game, I think Hearts played Musselburgh. And what I particularly liked it, and it was one of those games, it was a
local derby, isn't it?
What I loved about it was played at Olive Bank in Musselburgh, and I've played there. So I brought my kids, and I was like, I've played there, the Grandison Cup in 1984, under 12 schoolboy cup. We got beat 4-1.
That Musselburgh ground's amazing. Like I was driving through Musselburgh last year, and like when there's a point when you drive, there's a road that's kind of to the side of the pitch, and if you're driving along that road, you can see onto the pitch. Yeah, like if you got stuck in traffic,
things like that, overlooks the entire ground. It's great.
Yes. Well, we should. Well, for the next podcast, we should do a sort of review of the FA Cup and try and get our top moment of the FA Cup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Round. So we'll put that on the.
There's going to be that moment that like Tamworth or something like that. Everybody's going to talk about Arsenal versus Manchester United. It's the big fucking game, but I want Bromley to beat Newcastle or something like that.
I want there to be something. I'm looking at it and thinking, what more come Chelsea maybe, but it's at Stamford Bridge though, so it's not as exciting.
Lincoln City at Birmingham, but it's no. I'm going to look at the things come up now. Preston North End. Is the Liverpool? Is it Anfield? Accrington Stanley.
Yeah.
That's at Anfield,
Yeah, and Harry gets at Ellen Road, so it's not going to be as romantic either. So.
It's that romantic notion. It's getting a text from Tom saying you can see the Aldi behind the. Whenever the ball goes too high, you can see the Aldi car park.
You can see
it's unfortunate that it's at Manchester, because that would have been brilliant. But I still quite like to see if they can concentrate on Gary Neville and that in the director's box.
Yeah. So is it Salford versus Man City? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. That'll be good.
It's at the Etihad though.
Yeah, that's a shame.
And then you've got the other thing is Chelsea Morecambe, but it's at Stamford Bridge. Whereas if it was at Morecambe, that would have been pretty cool. And unless I remember, Morecambe are like quite a. They're up near Accrington, aren't they? They're in Lancashire, and it's quite bleak up there.
Yeah, it's on the coast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Watch long Everton are 1-0 up on Peterborough in the FA Cup.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, saw that. That's a shame. I thought they might have a crumble tonight. So, oh well.
Or like a protest at least. Oh, what else we got? Cardiff are 1-0 against Sheffield United. Fulham are drawn by Watford.
Yep.
Yeah.
A potential.
Rangers are drawn away at Dundee. Thursday night away at Dundee. That's when you win. That's when you win the Premiership. That's when you're playing your game in hand when you're at Dundee.
When you earn your points. Yeah.
You need to get the points.
Yeah. I've got so many I hate Dundee jokes just wrapped up my show, and I was like, that's something. I've
got Rangers fans on Facebook, and they were all like, after they won the Celtic game, they were all like, "Hey, boy!" I tried to troll one of them by going, I didn't follow Scottish football, but somebody told me if Rangers win the day, that the gap will be 11 points, and I just can't see Celtic coming back for that. And it was 11 points behind you, bastard.
I was just thinking before we could just call it there and just say we'll do our predictions next time, because I think it might take a little bit.
I want to really think about it. I want to get right into the minutiae of the stats.
Yeah, cool. So for next time on the docket to discuss, we've got FA Cup highlights.
Yeah.
Okay, and the smallest, pettiest thing, the better. We also have our predictions as well. And we've done the season review so far, which is good. And we did, and Matters Horizon was good.
We're trying to find our feet with this, so Matters Horizon is really good, and then having some sort of random discussion.
We'll know who the Everton boss is, and we can discuss how they're set up.
Should we make a quick prediction for the Everton boss then? Should we do as that's our prediction?
Yeah,
the Everton boss.
We should do 1 weekly prediction every time. I think that's good.
Okay.
Who wants to go first?
It's the draft as well, so if someone picks it, you can't.
That's true.
I'm going to go outfield because I think somebody who maybe is potentially successful elsewhere who might want another stab at top tier football.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to go with Brendan Rodgers.
Interesting.
I'm going to make a tinfoil FA Cup as the prize for winning your predictions. So you're going Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah,
I am. I think he could be teased back to the Premiership.
Even former Liverpool manager, would he be?
He's crossing the Mersey.
He wasn't a very good Liverpool manager.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe someone what about McKenna, who's at Ipswich? He could try and that would be a good job because he could get him playing exciting football. But no, I think the obvious choice is Moyes, isn't it? That's the obvious choice. It's the boring one, but I think it seems like that's where they're going.
I think looking at McKenna, looking at you've sacked your manager because you're 16th in the league. Are you really going to go for the guy who's 18th?
Yeah. But I suppose Everton might say they've got better players. I don't know, maybe not. So.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm just going to stick with Moyes again. That's my prediction. Yeah.
Moyes.
Jeff, 10
I'm torn, right? I'm torn between, if I'm honest, because I've got I don't know how I've managed to get the last pick. So I can pick anyone because you guys are I don't have a. I'm torn between Ten Hag and Southgate, and and also Frank. I think Frank's probably Frank's a sensible choice.
Yeah.
I think Frank's a really good choice for where Everton would want to be in the next couple of years, and that they want to be safe. Then they want to be.
I suppose would you leave
consistent?
Would you leave Brentford for Everton? I think you've built a Brentford of what he's built basically, hasn't he? So I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe you would. I'm not sure. But given the right money, maybe he wants a fresh challenge. I don't know.
Is he still at Brentford? Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I thought no. That's fine. It's not Frank then. He'll just stay there. He'll stay forever. Why would he move? Yeah, sorry. I don't know why I thought Frank had lost his job. That's weird. It's that managerial. It's the mid-table managerial merry-go-round. It's like trying to remember who's where in the mid-table.
See, honestly, see, before you said Brentford, and I realised you were talking about Thomas Frank. I thought you were talking about Fat Frank.
Oh,
yeah. I was like,
try Frank de Boer or something.
He's another
Frank Bruno.
Frank Bruno.
So yeah, it's either going to be Ten Hag or it's going to be Southgate.
So you're going to call? You're going to say that?
Oh, I'm going to flip a coin. I think no, it's going to be Ten Hag. I think actually, I'm not going to flip a coin. I'm just going to go Ten Hag.
Okay, so who do you go for, Andrew?
Me?
Who's he? Yeah, who do you go for?
Brendan Rodgers.
Oh, Brendan Rodgers.
Not going to be Brendan Rodgers. Man.
That's the.
It's not going to be.
I think that's my way of saying it. I've got absolutely no idea. Mid-table, I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not going to be Brendan Rodgers.
but Moisey, Brendan Rodgers, and Ten Hag.
Could be Philip Clement. I mean, Ken, he's maybe.
Yeah.
It could be anyone.
Could be anyone.
But it's got a chance of being somebody really obvious that we haven't thought of. But yeah, I think Ten Hag's a shit. I think Ten Hag's got something to prove, and could probably. Brendan Rodgers he's an outfield choice, but then you don't know what the Everton board are thinking about.
It's the end of the season though, and try to save them for relegation and stuff like that. How are we not even talking about Redknapp or Big Sam? Why
we're not in the Big Sam stuff. We're not in the Big Sam part of the season yet. That's why
it's 4 weeks out when he needs to win.
If they got Dyche, if they kicked Dyche out at the Easter holidays, you would be thinking about Big Sam.
Harry Redknapp would be a perfect slide in to the Dyche method, something like that. I don't know if Harry Redknapp's interested in managing anymore, or if he's decided he's done. But
who did you have, Tom?
So I've got Moisey.
Yeah. He's a sensible choice, isn't he? But then it's whether.
I think so.
I didn't commit to be sensible though, so I'm not sure why I got the sensible choice.
With Moyes, you can say what you want about Moyes, and I think my understanding of Moyes is like he's just kind of mid and a bit boring, but actually that's better than what Everton are at the moment. So
he managed Everton for something like 6 or 7 seasons or something like that. Was it? And he was occasional European football. I loved him up here.
Yeah. That was him. He was like the second longest serving manager after Ferguson, which was like the whole point. It was like that was like the natural. That's why he was one of the reasons why he was the chosen one. It was just a natural transition.
I think when you used to have 15 season managers like Fergie and we talked about Wenger and things like that. It doesn't happen anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah. Right, should we call it there?
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, that's great. That was really good. So we'll try and get another one in for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're less than 18 months before the next one again.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks, I think. It's been back.
Cheers.